morning, y'all. Thank you for joining. I want to start by going to God. So, Lord God, please let this effort bring you and you alone glory. May it reveal your glory, your power over all that you've created. And Lord, forgive us Lord, please lead us away from evil and temptation. And Lord, let this study help to draw us nearer to you. Amen. Now, on the last video, we ended on verse 5, and I was contemplating the periodicity of the first day. What I came to realize, or what God revealed to me, was that the section of chapter 1 in Genesis, from verses 1 through 5, it ends by saying, "And was evening, and was morning, day 1." What that means is, prior to the morning that's stated there at the end of verse 5, everything prior to that is the 0th day. Because we found that there was darkness first, then God spoke into existence light, and he called out to the day, and he called out to the light, day, and he called out to the absence of light. What we found out was that he called out to that, it is what it is, essentially. And so he separated the light from the dark. So during this period of time, which doesn't seem to be a period at all, it just is. And then, and was evening, and was morning, day 1. So when he spoke into existence light, there was light, he separated the two, and the light diminished and returned. And then day 1. So at the end of verse 5, we pick up in verse 6, having started the first day. So between 1 and 5 is the 0th day. And the first day begins at verse 6, is what it appears to be. Now, I could be wrong about that. I will stand corrected. I do also want to make it very clear that I welcome correction. That's what helps us grow. That's what helps us become stronger in his word and in our faith. So let's go and start with verse 6. And said God, let be an expanse in the midst of the waters. All right, let's stop there. We've already seen the word and said. We're still seeing the Elohim word for God being used. And we actually see let be because we didn't see the Strong's number above the let be light and was light in verse 3. But now we do have a Strong's number, and it does appear to be the same character form with no deviation. So that one is 1961. Although 1961 was used for night in verse 5. So again, we're seeing 1961 for let be, which is interesting because we already saw that the word that's translated and used for night, we already kind of saw that this is, and God called out to this let it be kind of, like it is what it is and it is as it was. So 1961, let's go back and revisit what that means. To exist, be or become, come to pass. Yeah, so he called out to the darkness and said, let it be. Or it exists. So then, and said God, let be an expanse. An expanse. This is an interesting word. 7549. This is from 7554, and it's pronounced rakia. Rakia. Properly an expanse, i.e. the firmament, or apparently visible arch of the sky. The firmament. So I'm going to write down the word firmament. By the way, this is a postcard that I've had since I was a small child, very young child. From the earliest age, I said I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to travel in space. That desire has changed since then. I do not want to leave God's creation. But I think what was happening when I was a child was I was tapping into the reason God put me here. I was very close to God at that age, obviously. We all are. And I think when you're that young, you have abilities and perceptions that come with that closeness to our Creator. And we have really kind of a good insight. This is just speculation on my part and commentary on this postcard here. But it's interesting to note that, you know, in the context of what I've done in my life, which is a lot of like traveling outside of time, essentially, or having my consciousness travel outside of it, my conscious experience going outside of it, out of mind. Which, being out of mind, there are words in the Bible that talk about that. We'll get to those eventually. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and use this. And it's from NASA, and we already know what NASA is. If you don't already know, it is the Hebrew word to deceive, nasa. And again, I could be wrong. I always welcome correction. So if you find any error in whatever I'm saying, please do leave it below in the comments. Please do share your insight. I always welcome that. And while you're at it, please like and please subscribe. So, and said God, let be an expanse, or let there be a firmament, an arch, a visible arch of the sky. We don't see a visible arch in this photograph. We see some gases that are being kept near the surface, but I don't see a visible arch. It does appear that there is some kind of editing going on here. Because one might argue, who may be opposed to God's word, saying, oh, this expanse is just people's antiquated understanding of the reality in which we live, and that they saw the sky and said, oh, it seems to curve. I don't know. Or they were using this word firmament to mean the air between the land and the clouds. Well, clouds, first of all, haven't been mentioned. It just says, in the midst of the waters. In the midst of the waters. I no longer have that painting. I returned it back to its rightful owner. So I can't use that as a demonstration to show the waters, but we remember what it is. There's the waters on the surface, or on the face. which we found out was a rotating seam. And the waters here, the word that's being used is actually a different word than the waters that were used in verse 3 or verse 2. So verse 2 was using 42:25. These waters are 43:25. So let's look at that. Mahim, dual of a primitive noun, but used in a singular sense, water, figuratively juice, by euphemism, urine, semen, piss, wasting, water, watering, water watering course, watering flood, watering spring. Interesting. So 43:25 is water. It's just water. I'm surprised they used the word piss there. In the midst of the water. So it must have been that there was just a lot of water everywhere. A thick, indistinguishable between land and the firmament. That's why the firmament was added. This visible arch. And in the midst, let's look at that. We skipped over that. 84:32. From an unused root, meaning to sever, and this word is tavik, a bisection, by implication the center, but yes, the midst of the water. So let's continue. And let it be dividing. Now, it seems that the word in the midst of implies, given what we just read, which is meaning to sever a bisection, the center, in the midst of the waters, and let it be dividing. You can only divide a whole. When you divide a whole of something, I guess it doesn't really imply dividing by two. But in the middle of a whole, you get two halves. So let's look at that. Be dividing, 9:14. See what we can find out about that word. Yeah, to divide. In various senses, literally or figuratively, separate, distinguish, differ, select, difference, divide, yeah. between, so, and let it be dividing between waters and the waters. And that's the end of verse 6 there. And it really puts the same word, 43:25, 3 times in that verse. So it says, and God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it be dividing between the waters and the waters. Quite the mysterious verse there. So essentially we get the sense that there is a great expanse of waters, which again literally means just water. And we know what water is. It's a fluid. And that fluid is what we're mostly composed of. We need water. Water is a necessary component to life for the body. Without water, life cannot be. And there's a dividing between the waters and the waters. It doesn't say where it's being divided. It just says that they're... Actually, I take that back. It says that there's a firmament in the midst of these waters, directly in the middle, in the center. But it's a visible arch. Being the firmament that divides it. So let's move on to verse 7. And made God. So this is the first time. So we've seen created so far. And we've seen, so as far as the verbs go, we've seen created, we've seen said, separated, called, and I guess dividing, which is interesting on the tense. There's past, 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 and then there's dividing, be dividing. So it seems like there's like this sense of continuity or ever-present division. And this is the first time we've seen the word made. 62:13. I wonder if the author just chose not to use the word created to avoid redundancy. I'm not sure, but we'll find out for 62:13. Because it could just be that it means created or made, to make. This is a big word. Primitive word, it means, or it's pronounced asa, a primitive root to do or make in the broadest sense and widest applications. Yeah. So it's almost as if it's saying, and God did, or and God made the expanse, or the firmament, and God made the firmament. I like using the word firmament because that seems a little more accurate here. Especially when considering that there's division or delineating things going on. It's like a barrier. And made God the expanse, and he separated between the waters which were under the expanse and the waters which were above the expanse. And it was so. There doesn't seem to be any words that would be misleading, but just for being thorough, let's look at the words under and above, because these are important concepts. Under, 8478, and above, 5921. 8478, 5921. Since I'm closer to the word 5921, I'm just going to go ahead and read that, which is above, and it literally just means above. Used as a preposition in the singular or plural, often with preference or as conjunction with particle following above, over, upon, or against. Yet always in this last relation with a downward aspect. So, and then 8, and then below was 80 or under 8478. Tachath. From the same as 8430, the bottom as depressed, only at ADV, I don't know what that means, below, often with underneath, in lieu of the bottom, below, beneath, nowhere, beneath or underneath, which were under the expanse, and the waters which were above the expanse. And it was so. Let's look, the word so has its own word. 3661. To set out, i.e. plant, vineyard. And made God the expanse, and separated between the waters which were under the expanse and the waters which were above the expanse, and it was set out, and it was planted. So and it was made. It was done. It was planted. It was set out. Interesting. And called God the expanse heavens. Now, this is the same word as the word the heavens that we encountered in verse 1, but of a different character structure or word structure. It's very different. AD 64 is that word. Heavens. Let's revisit that. Shamayim. 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 To be lofty, the sky. So yeah, the sky. So there we go. We've got the sky there, which is different than the firmament or the expanse. So we can't say that the firmament is the sky. Those are two separate things. Otherwise, they would have used that word in the place of the firmament, the heavens. So, and called God the expanse heavens. I mean, so what he's doing is he's calling the firmament heavens. So I guess I take all that back. He called out to the firmament sky. And was evening, and was morning, the second day. And that's the end of verse 8. So yeah, we've got the identification of the firmament, which is, I guess, we'll see if the firmament is continued to be used throughout the Bible, but I think from here on out, the firmament is now referred to as the heavens or the sky, because that's what that means. Alluding to the visible arch which the clouds move, as well as to the higher ether where the celestial bodies revolve. So these are the same places. They're looking up, and they're saying these are the heavens. Or that's what the English translation is the heavens. We haven't yet seen the word heaven yet properly, but here it's capitalized in verse 8, heavens. So let's continue on into the second day, or what we're calling the second day, because there was the 0th day. That was the first day, possibly, where he separated the waters which were under the heavens from the waters which were above the heavens. So there's water above the heavens. Above the heavens. This visible arch that separates the waters from below and the waters from above. There are waters above the heavens. Not in the heavens, but above them. We haven't seen the word in yet. There's nothing inside of anything. There's just on, under, above. Nothing inside anything. Or between. All right, so verse 9. And said God, let be collected the waters under the heavens to place one. Or to read that more clearly, and God said, let the waters under the heavens be collected to one place. Let's look at the word collected. Because to me, that sounds a lot like a pressure system where waters are going whoop. $69.60. Kala, a primitive root to bind together, perhaps by twisting, i.e. collect, to expect, gather, together, look, patiently tarry, wait. So yeah, that makes sense that there's a twisting motion, because we've already seen that there on the face of the deep is really a rotating mass that has a seam. And that already, to me, sounds like the symbol for yin and yang. There's a seam in that symbol, a division. It rotates, it turns. There's darkness and there's light. I mean, the yin and yang symbol is really profound. And I may decide to show and reveal what I found. I mean, yeah, maybe in another video. Because you can actually see this when you take a perfect circle and divide it up. When creating a perfect triangle and putting that perfect triangle within an inverted perfect triangle, all within that perfect circle. Anyway, getting off topic. To one place. Let's look at the word place, because we've already seen that this kala to bind together, a twisting. So collected already shows that it's being gathered by twisting to collect. It's a rotating vortex of, so far, water, light, and darkness. And a dividing line that has an arch. You know, this is already starting to sound like a toroidal construct. This is the torus field. it's rotating and oh yeah. Okay. So when God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be collected to one place, and let appear the dry land," and it was so. And it was set out. The dry land. So we finally have some land. Land has been created. And God let it appear. It just appeared. 7,200. Which we've already seen to mean to see. So really, it's reading, and God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be collected to one place, and let it be seen," or let see, and see the dry land appear. So it just appears. 3004 is dry land. Let's see what it says about that. Because I bet you that is the ground. Notice he doesn't speak this into existence. It just appears. We just see it appear. And let's see. Yabasha. From 3001. Yabashe. And this is to make dry up, is that 3001, but 3004 is dry ground. So it's as if it's as if pressure is being added to expand that toroidal field, so that I guess the elements are collecting away from the water. And let appear the dry land. It's an unveiling. The waters are separating above and below, and dry ground appears. And it was so. So the beginning of verse 10. And called God the dry land earth. Welcome to Earth, y'all. 776. We've made it. We are here on Earth. Eretz. From an unused root, probably meaning to be firm, the earth at large, or partitively a land, common, country, earth, field, ground, land, nations, way, wilderness, world. So there's a firmness. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. We've already encountered the word earth in the first verse. But it was all mixed up, and it was just a bunch of potential, essentially, of water, minerals. It's a swirling ball of elements, essentially. So let's continue. And the collection of the waters he called seas, and saw God good it was. $28.96. Is that the same word for good that we saw when he created light? Yes, it is. So I'm going to end it there because we've made quite the distance. We've traveled quite the distance here with 4 verses. As opposed to the normal 2 verses we go at a time. And I will see y'all tomorrow. It's getting exciting because we're starting to see creation unfold. So, again, thank you for joining. And if you have any suggestions, please leave it down below in the comments. I know there are a lot of things I could be doing that could improve, so I will be making adjustments. Like I could be putting words here on the screen to go along with the study, which I do anticipate that I will start doing. But for now, I think it's important that we just really dive into this and talk about it. Anyway, love y'all, and may peace be with you.